It's time for me to stick my head out from behind the curtain and perpetrate another dissertation. And a little comment about people, how they feel about exposing themselves in terms of risking speaking up. What's interesting to me is that many people that I speak with about risking are actually quite afraid of stepping out. Something like making a YouTube video or saying something on YouTube, or whatever field you're in. If you're a media person, obviously the media is totally silent on all the major issues. They're just regurgitators. And it's quite curious and interesting to me that in a situation where we have come to, where we have ended up, is that most people have a level of fear about speaking up, not about the terror and the potential of being hit by a bomb going off in your neighborhood. These kind of things, that would be the natural thing. It's like, I'm afraid to walk on the streets. No, it's not that. It's the repercussions by the authorities that are supposedly on our side and taking care of things. So I'm going to stick my head out from behind the curtain again, and the people that think that it's safer not to, I beg to differ. I think there are many examples in history. Once the owners and rulers decide to level the playing field to whatever they've decided is correct, I mean, no one is protected. And I suppose, there you go. Oh wait, that's the compressor, my compressor. So I'm going to make a dissertation. I came across a little ditty. I'm subscribed to an internet magazine called Hyperallergic. It's an art magazine. They're basically regurgitators that give me information where there is a trend, or where there might be something of interest considering the art side of things. And this obviously is something that interests me from the point of view that what I have said is, how long is that? There we go. The greatest hoax ever perpetrated on humankind, especially people, mindful people, thoughtful people, is what is called civilization. I've made statements about the idea that I would gladly live in mud huts and wood shoes and wear wood shoes if we could get rid of all this chemical pollution. Where we've come to, our great civilization, especially the nuclear criminal syndicate who has taken the field on everything destructive, I would gladly give up all the benefits that we're being told we have based on a civilization that has failed us terribly. There are obviously highlights. And what you're looking at is supposedly a find. I love the way they pull this out of a hat. A 4,500-year-old scrap of something, supposedly papyri. It's a piece of paper. It's like supposedly an ancient piece of paper 4,500 years ago. And quite frankly, I have notebooks that I've made over my art period, my art career, where the original books, which were not pH neutral, they were acidic, the paper, is more or less looking like this. And that's maybe 40 years ago or 45 years ago from my first notebooks. It looks very similar to this. Now, my comment here will be that why isn't there an image that represents, by the way, this is an Egyptian artifact. What they say is documenting the building of the pyramids, and it's an artifact, a piece of paper that is an accountant's record of what was going on while building the pyramids. Now, I find it very curious that there isn't one representation of a pyramid in these drawings. I mean, they're clever at making little birds and having their symbols. They go back and forth between pictures, their pictograms, and a kind of crude lettering of some kind, or sophisticated lettering, I don't know what. But why isn't there just in even one of them? Just one, even a triangle. Show me a triangle. Give me something that would convince me to believe you on the hooey that you're giving us about this being about the building of the pyramids. Where's the representation of the pyramid? Doesn't come up. Oh, maybe it got lost in the scraps. There would have been so many representations of these triangles going up, the most magnificent structures, wonder of the world, one of the wonders, the pyramid at Giza. And they give us this hooey, and it's so convenient for them to create a narrative that goes back 4,500 years of all this brilliance. And I just want to say that when you look at the history of the written word, a fellow by the name of Anatoly Fomenko, you can go into my YouTube's, type in Fomenko. I do dissertations on him, on a treatise that he calls History, Science, or Fiction, or Fiction or Science. I forget which way it goes. He talks about the fact that there is no definitive proof of a piece of writing on paper that is older than 800 of the Common Era. So that puts us maybe 1,200 years ago. And they're saying this is 4,500 years ago. Like I say, my paper after 35, 40, 50 years has disintegrated already, and they really kept this around. And the further you go back, the codices, these things written down supposedly on parchment. There's, in the old days, it literally took a month, 30 days or so, to create a piece of parchment that they were able to write on. And scholars say, well, the further you go back, the more writing we get, which is insane, because it took huge numbers of animals that were used to make parchment. They used the skin of animals, I think sheep or whatever they used. And if they were right, they would have decimated the population, the animal population that provided these parchments. So it's a hooey. It's hooey. It's all here. Hooey. The civilization would be a good idea, as Gandhi says. So I don't place much importance in this. And they say that the guy who came up with this was called Bob, I think. No, Mayer. These people that date these things. No, that wasn't Mayer. He's the accountant that kept track of this. But these scientists who are supposedly in charge of telling us what the heck is going on. One of them is called Pierre Talet and Saeed Mahfouz. They come up with these things. They're paleologists, supposedly. And how do you date something that's 4,500 years old? Paleology is based, it's a science, an art probably more than a science if it works, where you date something based on how people wrote in the old days. Now, how can they date this at 4,500 years ago if they don't have anything to compare it to? Why would they say it's 4,500 years old? And carbon dating, by the way, doesn't work on this. It doesn't. So the idea of dating something, they pull it out of their hats. They can pull it out of their hat because they've created the narrative, the history that we're supposed to buy into. And all I'm saying is, why isn't there a representation of a pyramid on any of these papyri, or even etched in stone in the pyramids, the hieroglyphs? Why isn't there a representation of a pyramid, considering it was the most important event for hundreds and hundreds of years in every pharaoh's life, supposedly, and there should have been. So I'm just going to, let's see, I think I'll go to the video now. Let me break for a sec. And since it's August 6th today, August 6th, 2016, an ignominious anniversary, the dropping of the bomb at Hiroshima, August the 6th, and I thought I would invoke a fabulous film, Dr. Strangelove and Slim Pickens. Slim Pickens as he's sitting on the bomb. Yee-haw! Yee-haw! like a horse between his leg. Hee-haw! He's whipping his horse as he goes down toward his target. Hee-haw! Slim Pickens, what a fabulous actor and film that was. Stanley Kubrick. Dr. Strangelove. Anyway, to finish off my civilization would be a good idea dissertation. Civilization would be a good idea, people. We don't have it. We have some sort of degenerate version, this a kind of aberration that seems to pass, like in Orwell's Peace is War, that technology is civilization. Technology is not civilization. Technology is part of the grand manipulation going on. And the greatest manipulation, the greatest failure by civilized people is to have created nuclear fission. Nuclear fission in 1938. The age of fission began, like I have I reiterate this all the time. The greatest failure, the invention of this process called nuclear fission was the end of something that hadn't been working. Basically, it hadn't been working anyway. The only reason we're still here is because the doofuses way back, the Attila the Huns and the Neros and all the owner tyrant types who scourged the planet, if they'd had nuclear fission, we would have been long gone already, but we've saved it till now, 2016. It's very important to risk, to come out while we still have a chance to come out and say something, because this is going to be long term. I think as civilization collapses, what never really has been civilization, as it collapses, it's going to get more difficult for people like myself and others to say something about the situation we're in. Right now, I mean, I'm not much on the radar screen of anybody with a few views, but I still continue to do it because the same way during the Nazi era, that the artists that were called the degenerate artists that were maligned and that were targeted by Hitler and his regime, people that had to take control, they had to put the final nail in the coffin of whatever there might have been that would have been considered of value to our spirit, to our desire, to our hopes. They made sure that no one was left standing that had any remnant that would be willing, anyone willing to risk was eliminated. So we still have the opportunity to speak out, people, and those that are thinking we can hide or you can hide behind a curtain, it's no longer possible, because what technology, the manipulation has done, has created an incredibly capable surveillance system that leaves out no one. And my thoughts today on this ignominious anniversary of the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima on August the 6th, 1945. And a lot of people think of this as the nuclear button option. To my mind, has never been an issue. It has been a tool, a vehicle towards forcing people into a certain frame of mind, into making us think in certain ways. Because what is now unfolding is, with over 400 nuclear plants spread out over this entire planet, we are now facing down this nuclear monster, not from a bomb. I mean, they're there, and they're obviously an option to the psychopaths that are running the show. But really what is happening is a slow death over the last 70 years since this ignominious invention, not just the bomb, but the peaceful atom. Nuclear power is totally destroying the ecosystem on this planet. The idea that there is a segment in the population that is undermining the majority, or this, what I feel to be part of, this mystery that we're a part of, what is called life. Life is a mystery. Life is a mystery. There's no such thing as, they call it abogenesis, where you have the spontaneous creation of life if you zap it with energy. Well, they have not been able to reproduce life. They're manipulators. They cannot even produce a dust particle, never mind life. So this is all a bunch of hooey narrative by the Gnostics as well, to think that there is someone out there that can create life. At least not in my sphere of investigation. There is no such thing as anyone being able to create something out of nothing. We're manipulators. We manipulate stuff. And the idea of the Big Bang is the biggest lie ever, because it's like Terence McKenna said, give me one free miracle and I'll explain the rest. And that's what science is. They haven't got any originality, but they're great manipulators and gone down the wrong road anyway. My comment today on this anniversary is how civilization is the biggest hoax ever, run now by the nuclear criminal syndicate. And I think that each individual person within their own conscience needs to find this place within themselves where they're wanting, they want to put up a fight against this. We need to pick our fight. And when I say we need to pick our fight, it's primarily an internal fight. It's to come to get in touch with that that almost, I would call it a sacred part of ourselves that wants to do the right thing. It's within each individual, which distinguishes us from what I can tell from other life forms, that we have the ability to manipulate, but to do the right thing. We can do the right thing, which is conscience. And it's an internal battle. We need to pick that fight. And once that has happened, I think the other, whatever that fight might be, to make paintings, to make music, to make the art, to make the political statements, to become active in our social environment, to make a difference toward the better. I think that'll come, but primarily it's an inner fight, and we're losing that fight based on where we're going, and it's ratcheting up. It's getting worse. It's getting worse because nobody's taking care of Fukushima. Fukushima is being ignored because they don't have a solution, and all the other plants as well. And this is escalating, people. What can I say? But you know, I plug on. I'm working on my show, as you can see. I'm preparing the work, and we need to keep our faith and our hope in each other, and plug on, carry on, and pick your fight. Pick your fight. Resolve the inner fight. It's something that is of utmost importance to win the inner battle. And then we can externalize. Once we've done that, we externalize. If we externalize everything before we've done that important action, it's going to be for naught. It'll be like sounding brass, Corinthians.